enough, there is a right answer here. I won't say what it is, but there is a right answer. We'll just say woof, woof. No, I'm actually allergic to cats, and I feel bad because my wife really likes them, but big dog person. Okay, so this morning, are we excited about the Super Bowl? Is that a thing people get excited about? Broadly? Great, yeah.
The Olympics.
Yeah, the Olympics are also happening. Yeah, great. We're excited about that.
Yes.
Lots of sports. I'm going to a Super Bowl party, but I also have tickets to a concert tonight. And I was like, don't worry, it's like long after the game's over. I don't have to leave till like 6. And they were like, the game's probably still going to be going. I'm still going to be going. God, how long are they? Okay. So this morning, I want to read a story that may be familiar to some of us. Story about a guy named Jesus. All right, this is in the book of John, chapter 6. When evening came, his disciples went down to the lake, where they got into a boat and set off across the lake for Capernaum? Capernaum? Okay, if you went to Bible school, don't come for me, even though I did, so what's that about? By now it's dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them. A strong wind was blowing, and the waters grew rough. When they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water. And they were frightened. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. Okay, so we're familiar with this story. I think this story means a lot of things. This is the beauty of Scripture, as they tell us these narratives, and we're meant to find ourselves in them. And as I've been thinking about the world and my own world as of late, and thinking about the reality of how special this is, that Jesus and the presence of God comes to us in unexpected ways when things are a-rocking, if you know what I mean, right? If the boat's a-rocking, Jesus comes a-knocking. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Started it and had to finish. But the fact that when our life gets rocky, when things are scary, when it feels like we are in a situation that is more than we can handle, we've taken off more than we can chew, that the presence of God shows up to be with us in those moments. And I think about that a lot, and I'm appreciative of that. And then I've been thinking to myself, what I need is to be in the presence of God. In this season, where everything feels rocky on a macro level, all the way down to a micro level. Things happening in the world, things happening in our country, things happening in our city, things happening in my neighborhood, things happening in my life. A lot of that, it all feels rocky. This is a kind of a wild time, right? And so I'm thinking about how I am craving and desiring and wanting and needing to be in the presence of God. And for someone like me, when I grew up in church or I had all these experiences, being in the presence of God meant certain specific things, right? It was like prayer, meditation, worship music, a Christian book, a devotional, going to church, all of these things. And all those things are totally where you can be in the presence of God. But I think about this passage, and I'm reminded that sometimes it shows up in an unexpected way. They're thinking for Jesus to do all these things, and then here he is walking on the water in not the way they expected the presence of God to show up for them. And as I look at my life and my different experiences, and I talk to friends and people in our community, so often, so many of us, right, the presence of God is a reminder of our belovedness, right? The moments where it feels like, okay, maybe I am okay, maybe everything's going to be okay, maybe I have some kind of sense, I feel something kind of foundational and something kind of sturdy and steady. I think the beautiful thing about that is that comes in a lot of ways, and one of those ways it comes is through experiences and community in our life with people and friends and family members. I'm reminded in the words of James, in the book of James, that every good and perfect thing comes from God, the heavenly Father of light, you guys get it? That those experiences, too, embody the presence of God. And this is a helpful reminder for me to think about the ways I can engage and get into the presence of God go so far beyond maybe the prescriptive ways I've understood, and they expand so far into my experiences in my community, right? I think often about every experience I had with my grandmother, my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother. And every time I was in her presence, I used to just think like, man, something is happening here, right? Something is so beautiful about this. And I remember when I was younger, I truly believed and still believe that she had some kind of connection to God that was just, it was stronger than others, right? And I remember I had something going on in my life, and my mom was like, oh, you should have your grandma pray for you. I said, oh, no. I saved that for like really big things, right? Like I'm like, don't pray for this test at school. I'm saving your prayers or something. Like I really just felt like this is her connection to God. Like I don't want to overdo it because it's like so strong and powerful. And she was just such an important figure in my life. And I think about the moments with her, and I'm like, that was me experiencing the presence of God. That was a settling to the rocking of my life every time I got to be in her presence. I think about the same thing in meeting my wife and falling in love and building this connection and this thing that we get to hold each other in those moments and remind each other when we start rocking, like, okay, I think we're actually okay. That's the presence of God showing up into my life. And I even talk about one of maybe the most impactful relationships I've had ever in my life. I was 24, 5, 3, it all blurs, okay? Next week, I'm turning 40, by the way, so. And so this was some time ago. And I had my first solo apartment, my first job out of grad school, and I found out that we were allowed to have pets in the apartment. And I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to the shelter, I'm getting a puppy, and I'm going to have this puppy, and we're going to like live our life together. And so I go, and I'm like, okay, can you take me to the puppy section? And we're walking by, and I look over, and there's this dog. He has exactly one tooth. He's huge. He's 80 pounds. He's already gray. One of his legs, he's like, he limps. He's like limping over. And we just like locked eyes, and I was like, shoot, I'm going home with this dog, right? So I adopt a 12-year-old, 80-pound boxer as my first solo animal that I am in charge of. And I named him Doug. He was named after both Frederick and Gabby Douglas. And he... little did I know, would be truly one of the singular most important figures in my time. I was with him when I discovered that I was queer. When I first came out to myself, I always say he's the first person I came out to, his relative. But I remember just like sobbing and being like, Doug, do you still love, like, is everything going to be okay? Like, I'm like sobbing in my bed night after night, and Doug was just there. We're having conversations. He was with me in the car when I went and first told my friends for the first time. He was with me in the house he was with me when I first met Sammy. You guys, by the way, these are my clothes. This is how big he was. That's my vest. Okay, that's my flannel. This is his Christmas flannel. Okay, this is Doug. He's an angel. He was there when I first met Sammy at a coffee date. He was there. We went home, and I'm like talking to him. He held such space for me that there's no way that was not an experience of the presence of God. And I'm not getting all woo, 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 whatever, and being like, everybody, go get a dog. It's God spelled backwards. Something to think about. But I do believe that when we say, and when I say and believe that what we need is to be in the presence of God, I want us to just remember that goes so far beyond these like religious spaces and worship moments, and it goes into our community and the people and the places and the friends who remind us constantly of our belovedness. And that can come in any kind of way. I'm sure it could even be a cat. Just kidding. And it's very simple this morning. I just wanted to encourage us all to think about those people and those friends and those moments. And I want to encourage us to be cognizant of when we are in their presence, that we are in the presence of God, that the presence of God is coming to us in a way we might not have expected, or we didn't notice, or that even was like, is this weird? I'm scared, right? People in the boat were scared. I remember one time crying and talking to Doug and being like, is this weird? You know what I mean? Like, am I okay? But that's all the presence of God. And I think our awareness and finding grounding and feeling a little sturdy and stopping the rocking when we experience those, I think it's twofold. I think that Jesus came to his friends in a time of need, not only to save them or to help them, but also to model for them that they too can do that for their community. And I think it's a twofold thing. If we get to experience all the people and friends who have come and reminded us of our own belovedness, because that is also the gift that we get to give to our community as well. That I get to engage with people and maybe have an opportunity to remind them of their belovedness and be a conduit of this presence, of this experience, of this good thing that comes from the Father. In a time like now, there's only so much we can do, and I think at moments that is frustrating and difficult and confusing. I think there's so much going on that it's rocking a lot of us in a lot of very significant ways. And I think our ability to be in and be aware that we are in the presence of God makes all the difference. Our ability to remind the people in our community that we can rest and have a moment in the presence of God is important. The story of Moses in the burning bush. I'll never forget when I heard a sermon or someone was talking to me. I guess I already forgot the context, but I don't forget what they said. We were talking about the burning bush, and they were saying, like, okay, did it, you know when you're in Bible school and people are like, let's really talk about, did it catch fire? Was it set on fire? But it's like, no one cares. This is just the story. And the question was posed that maybe the bush was burning the whole time and Moses finally had eyes to see it. And I think about that a lot. I'm like, the presence of God is in our midst. When asked where the kingdom is, it's what Jesus says, it's in our midst. It's in the people and the places and friends all around us. And we have the opportunity to engage with that. And engaging with that is something that can calm the storms around us, even for a moment. And so our ability to have eyes to recognize and see when we are in the presence of God, maybe we're talking to an 80-pound boxer who's wearing our denim jacket. Maybe it's a grandma, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a partner. But our ability to recognize that presence of God, I think, is going to give us the stability we need to persist and maintain in a season like this. And so you're going to grab those same 3 or 4 people and answer this question. How can you experience the presence of God this week? Enjoy.